Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either gonna be okay.
No, stop!
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
The new Red Bull Dragonberry Energizer is now at McDonald's. Made with freeze-dried dragon fruit and made to lock in. The all-new Energizer, now at McDonald's.
Welcome to the Murder Diaries. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige. Heads up for our listeners, we are now posting, by the way, full-length video episodes of docu-files on YouTube. So make sure you head over to YouTube at the Murder Diaries podcast and check us out there too.
In 2008, 21-year-old Skye Budnick told her family she was staying with a friend for a couple of nights. Quiet, thoughtful, and deeply fascinated by Japanese culture, Skye had always seemed like the child her parents never had to worry about. But when days passed with no word from her, her family discovered a shocking truth. Skye hadn't gone to a sleepover at all. She had boarded a one-way flight to Japan. In this episode, we trace the early life, private struggles, and baffling disappearance of a young woman who seemed to vanish by choice and without a trace. This is her story.
You still think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
Skye Budnick was born February 2nd, 1987, in Southington, Connecticut. She was the youngest of 3 children born to Robert and Susan Budnick, with an older brother, Matthew, Matt, and an older sister, Megan. Skye has been described by her parents as a very easy child, never giving them any problems. She was the one her parents never had to worry about, like I just mentioned. She was the quiet one who followed the rules and never made waves. But if we were to look at the family as a whole, it existed in a kind of introverted, insular bubble. There wasn't a lot of emotional expressiveness happening in that household. Feelings were kept on a low burner, and the family mostly kept to themselves. Skye's sister, Megan, would later say that every member of her family exhibited low-grade characteristics of being on the spectrum, despite none of them ever being diagnosed as autistic. Megan said she definitely saw that in herself as well, but also said that she was probably the most outgoing in her family. She was the only one in her family who owned a cell phone, after all. As for Skye and her brother Matt, they kept to themselves mostly, but they did bond over their shared interest in video games. All of this to say is, it's not as though Skye didn't want to participate socially and have friends. It's just something she struggled with because of her withdrawn personality. It was tough for Skye to keep and maintain friendships because of this. Over the years, the Budnick family stayed pretty close to home. There were the occasional family vacation, but they were always fraught with stress and drama. It's in this regard that Skye differs from her family. She wanted to explore beyond Connecticut. She began to develop an interest and fascination with Japanese culture, specifically anime and manga, otherwise known as Japanese comics and graphic novels. She even told her mother that she one day wanted to move to Japan and marry a Japanese guy. This interest in Japan began when Skye was in high school, so it was tough for her to find like-minded people who shared her passion. And it wasn't until Skye went to college that she found people who were as interested as she was. This opened up a whole new opportunity to meet and develop friendships based on Japanese culture, anime, music, etc. Her parents were ecstatic for her. This was the first time they'd ever really seen her develop multiple authentic friendships.
Skye attended Central Connecticut State University, which was less than half an hour from where she lived, so she was able to live at home while attending classes. At Central State Connecticut University, she was an international studies major with a focus on Japanese. Her goal was to get into a program that would allow her to study abroad in Japan, and this one fit the bill. On March 31st, Skye told her mom that she was going to stay at her friend's dorm on the Central Connecticut State University campus for a couple nights. Her family was in full support of this. They saw this as an opportunity for Skye to come out of her shell and get a little bit of that on-campus experience since she lived at home. She'd be able to have a fun sleepover on top of all of that and make some college memories. The next day, April 1st, Skye's sister Megan was at work when she got struck with a horrible, crippling headache and poor vision. Her boss told her to go to the hospital and get checked out. Worried that Megan might be having a stroke or aneurysm, the doctors ran a bunch of tests on Megan, which all luckily came back clear. But Megan and her family were in and out of the hospital over the next several days trying to figure out what was wrong with her. Everyone was focused on Megan and concerned about her health. It wasn't until April 3rd that Megan's mom realized nobody had heard from Skye since she had left home for the sleepover. Because Skye was 21 and an adult, and they knew that she was on campus for the sleepover, she decided not to reach out to her friends to check up on her. She said Skye was out just having fun, being 21, and was going to give it a day or two before she decided to check in on her. The next day, April 4th, Susan couldn't wait any longer because Skye still hadn't called to check in. So she reached out to the friend that Skye told her she was having the sleepover with. But to Susan's dismay, that friend said that there was never any plans for a sleepover. She had no idea what Susan was talking about.
Susan called all of Skye's friends that she knew her daughter hung out with, and nobody had seen her since March 31st. Frantic, Susan called the police to file a missing persons report. Now, before we go any further, it's important to note that prior to her disappearance, Skye was suffering from episodes of depression, especially at the end of 2007. She had communicated with friends and family of her desire to one day die in Japan after seeing the cherry blossoms. It took a couple of hours before a police officer arrived at the Budnick home. In the meantime, the Budnick family discussed possible ideas about what might have happened to Skye. That's when her brother Matt remembered something really important, something that would change the course of the investigation. He remembered that Skye had been using his computer a few times to log into her personal email before she went missing. So Matt decided to see if he could get into her email account. And sure enough, her login information had been saved. The family opened her email and discovered that Skye had booked a one-way flight to Japan, which had departed on April 1st. When the police arrived at the Budnick home, Skye's family told them that they were baffled by this unexpected trip by Skye. This wasn't typical behavior by a youngest child who had only ever been comfortable leaving home to go to school or work. Getting on a one-way flight to Japan? It was completely out of the ordinary behavior. The police almost immediately didn't take Skye's missing person status seriously. They essentially blew off the Budnick family, saying that Skye was 21. She was an adult who could do what she wanted to do. But the police didn't know Skye like her family did. Skye may have been 21 years old, but behaviorally and socially, she was less mature than someone normally might have been at that age. Skye was more like a teenager than a grown adult. They felt the police should take that into consideration, but the police acted as though the Budnicks had wasted everyone's time by reporting her missing. Something else the family found in Skye's email was a draft of an email that Skye had written, but never sent out. The email was addressed to one of Skye's friends that she had recently had a falling out with, and the Budnicks mentioned this email to the police. The email had a very ominous tone to it. Not quite suicidal, but it was definitely a goodbye sort of email. And Skye was writing to this friend to let them know that she was starting her life over and wanted to give away some of her possessions.
The police told the family the first thing they recommended doing was going to the airport and looking for Skye's car. So that's what they did. Without any kind of police escort, Skye's parents and Megan's boyfriend at the time, drove to Bradley International Airport to look for Skye's car. They eventually found the car, and when they looked inside, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No mess, nothing to indicate that a struggle had taken place. The only thing that was a little off was Skye's only jacket was left in the car. But when you think about it, anybody could accidentally leave their jacket in the car. They called the police to report this, telling them that they had found Skye's car, but the police didn't have much to say. They just said, take it home. Eventually, the police were able to confirm with the airport and the airline that Skye did board her flight to Japan. She flew from Connecticut to Washington, D.C., where she then boarded United Airlines flight UA803 in Washington Dulles International Airport with service to Tokyo. In Tokyo, Skye boarded UA flight 9726 with service to Sapporo, where she arrived at Chitose Airport. When Skye's family learned what she had done and where she'd gone, they decided to look through her things in her room. Nothing was missing. No clothes had been packed, no toiletries. The only two things that were missing were her computer and her Nintendo DS. Call me basic, but I'm an autumn girl through and through. And as this summer winds down, it's got me thinking about all these little things that make the home feel a little more comfortable and welcoming and cozy. That's exactly what Quince does so well. They make it so easy to upgrade the spaces that you use every day with quality home essentials made from premium materials without paying any of those luxury prices. Quince has those pieces that quietly elevate your home, from plush Turkish cotton bath towels and breathable cotton and linen bedding. Everything from Quince is made with premium materials and thoughtful craftsmanship. That's because Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. That way they can offer exceptional quality at prices that are 50 to 80% less than similar luxury brands. I've been sleeping on European linen sheets from Quince's home goods line for a year now, and let me tell you, they are cozy, they are breathable. I have no notes. They also just sent me their cotton fisherman's throw in the color fig. It is so pretty and also very cozy, most importantly. Elevate your everyday at home. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/diaries. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/diaries.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop.
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
Her parents would also soon learn that when she got to Washington, D.C., she withdrew $800 from her bank account. There was a total of $1,600 in her bank account, so there would have been an additional $800 that was left over.
The local police couldn't get involved in Skye's case because Japan was obviously beyond their jurisdiction. The family learned that the only way to file a missing persons report was through the U.S. Embassy in Japan. This meant the family was going to have to follow Skye to Japan. Since Skye's father struggled with traveling and had health issues, it was decided that Megan and Susan would take the trip. But this meant getting passports. And it wasn't straightforward because the only way they could get their passports expedited quickly was by traveling to Norwalk, Connecticut to do so. If you're wondering if Skye had done the same thing, not exactly. The only reason Skye had a passport was because she had got one when she was hoping to get into the study abroad program at her college. But because of her failing grades, she hadn't been accepted into the program. Megan and Susan's passports didn't arrive until April 9th, 9 days after Skye had left. The two of them arrived in Japan on April 11th, and an ambassador from the U.S. Embassy was waiting for them when their plane landed. This was the first time in more than 10 days of Skye missing that the family felt like they were being taken seriously. The embassy arranged a hotel for Megan and Susan and escorted them there. But unfortunately, Megan and Susan had arrived at the start of a weekend, so there wasn't much business that could be done with the embassy during that time. Luckily, to help get the ball rolling, the rep from the embassy had pre-printed missing person flyers to give Megan and Susan so that they could be handing them out over the weekend. But more roadblocks kept coming up. Because of the language barrier and the differences in culture, it was tough for Megan and Susan to get anyone to take the flyers they were handing out. They eventually found a McDonald's restaurant, and because that felt like a familiar and iconic American staple to Megan and Susan, they tried to talk to people inside the restaurant and hand out flyers, only to be kicked out by the management. Because their attempts to hand out flyers only caused trouble, Megan and Susan decided to go out walking. They figured Megan was 5'8" and would easily stand out in a crowd, so they went out looking for her. Unfortunately, their walking and searching turned up nothing, so Megan and Susan returned to their hotel.
At the time of Skye's disappearance, Megan had been doing some freelance work with MTV, so she reached out to a producer from work to see if they could help them connect with someone in Japan. The idea was to have Japanese media come and meet them and get Skye's story out there. The producer did agree to help, but since Megan and Susan were in Sapporo, the producer said the most effective way to do this would be for Megan and Susan to go to Tokyo. Tokyo would obviously have a much larger media reach, and since Megan and Susan would be able to get more eyes on her story that way, it was a no-brainer. They headed to Tokyo April 12th, and a press conference was then scheduled for the next day, April 13th. Being in Tokyo also got them thinking as well. Tokyo seemed like a place in Japan that Skye might be interested in. Everything she seemed to love about Japanese culture was there in this sprawling city of Tokyo. More people in Tokyo also spoke English, so it would have been easier for Skye to navigate and communicate with people. This left him with the question, of course, though, why then would her final destination been Sapporo? Was that actually her end destination? Now listen, the family never really even got Skye's whole obsession with Japan, but the minute that they got to Tokyo, Megan and Susan suddenly felt very connected to her. They also felt very safe walking around the city, which, in these circumstances, that's a wonderful thing. The press conference on that April 13th date was held at one of the conference rooms of the hotel that Megan and Susan stayed at. There wasn't an empty seat in the entire room. Megan and Susan were astonished by the support of the local media that was giving Skye's case a chance. The next day, on the 14th, Megan and Susan headed back to Sapporo, where they learned that because of the media blast to find Skye, there had been 3 sightings of her. April 4th, she had been seen checking into Noribetsu Osen Kiyomizu Ya-in. This, of course, is in Noribetsu, which is a city that's about a 2-hour train ride from Sapporo. They were able to figure out that she had stayed in Noribetsu for 2 nights. After that, she was then seen twice more in Noribetsu at the Suzuki Roikanen. These 2 particular sightings were from people who worked at the respective inns. Another sighting was by a cab driver who had driven her to one of those inns. Everyone who saw Skye had similar things to say about her. She was pleasant, happy, and excited to be in Japan. Skye also let it be known that her next destination was Sapporo, although one man said he helped her at a ticket kiosk, and this guy says that Skye was crying because she didn't know which ticket she needed to buy. Now that Megan and Susan knew where Skye was or had been, they wrestled with what to do next. Should they go to Noribetsu and track her down, or stay in Sapporo and wait for her to arrive there? They chose to stay in Sapporo. Also, the Budnick family wasn't particularly well off, and their finances were starting to become a concern. With that in mind, it wasn't really financially feasible for them to go here, there, and everywhere. It also wasn't feasible for them to stay much longer, to miss more work. And unfortunately, they were going to have to go back to the US soon, possibly without Skye. That's what actually ended up happening. The leads ran out on Skye's movements in Japan, and they never found her while in Sapporo. Ultimately, time ran out on the trip, and they returned to Connecticut without her.
The two of them returned with many unanswered questions. Why had Skye gone to Japan and not told anyone about her trip? Did she go there to meet someone? Is she safe? Will she ever reach out? What more could they have done for her while they were in Japan? Given the fact that Skye had never had any experience traveling, the Budnick family believed she had to have had help on her trip in some way, but they had no idea who it could have been. Skye had never mentioned meeting anyone online. She never talked about a boyfriend. At one point, Megan even had a psychic do a tarot card reading about Skye. And the reading told Megan what she'd been thinking all along, that Skye had perhaps met someone online, someone she thought she could trust, and that person hadn't been completely honest. When Skye arrived in Japan, the situation was not what she expected. Basically, the cards told Megan that Skye had been trying to flee a bad situation in Japan, and while fleeing that situation, wound up in another equally bad situation. More questions that Megan and the family have had to consider over the years are things like Skye possibly taking her own life or falling into the hands of traffickers. They also remembered something that happened a few months before Skye left for Japan. Back in January of that year, Skye's mother got a call from an airline saying that Skye hadn't gotten on her flight, and the airline was trying to resolve what to do with this flight ticket. When Susan asked Skye about this, Skye said there must have been some kind of mix-up, that she had been helping a friend with travel arrangements to Japan, and they must have gotten the names mixed up. It now occurred to the family that this must have been a first attempt by Skye to leave for Japan, but maybe she had gotten cold feet about the trip. Another conversation Susan remembered having with Skye happened a day or two before Skye left for Japan. Skye asked her mom to bake her favorite cupcakes she'd liked as a child. Megan thought this was slightly odd, seeing as though Skye was 21 and was perfectly able to bake her own cupcakes. Skye eventually told Megan, "I just wanted Mom to make them one more time for me."
A note was found on Skye's Facebook after she disappeared. It was from about 1.5 years before she left for Japan, but it feels ominous and prescient in its tone. It reads, "Let us remember the past that is gone, and let us look to the future while we keep the memories secure, and hope that with both we shall succeed. Or we should screw it all and run forward with reckless abandon with no hopes or expectations, only acceptance. Either way, we will live till we die, unless we're dead while we live. If we refuse life until death, then we have never been alive, and there is no way to buy back the lost time. But it is also not wise to blindly accept. Without question, we are nothing. Without doubt, we are stripped of our will. Is this too deep for you? Would you rather accept ignorantly with questions and be led in every direction contrary to your own? Do you doubt these words? If so, good. There may be no rhyme or reason to this. This may have been fabricated on a whim without prior thought. But perhaps herein lies logic, profound. Perhaps this small passage is a great work that cannot be explained by any, but can be interpreted by all. As long as it makes you think for yourself, that is good. I'll leave you now with one final thought. There is potential for anything to exist. The trouble is searching and not finding it, so that you can tell all it does not." After that note, another thing that Megan finds in Facebook Messenger was a lot of messages to friends. Skye was trying to sell all of her belongings as far back as 2007. When friends would write back asking why she wanted to sell her stuff, Megan never mentioned Japan. She only said that her parents were making her pay for her tuition, which wasn't true. Why she did and said this is a complete mystery. Another mystery is how she was able to book a one-way ticket to a foreign country. This would make sense since it didn't have an end date, only if someone claimed responsibility for her and maybe even came to Connecticut to travel with her and assure customs that Skye would indeed be returning to her home country of the United States after a certain amount of time in Japan. Skye would have needed a visa or some kind of substantial game plan in order to book that kind of one-way ticket.
As of the recording of this podcast, it's been 17 years since Skye got on a plane and flew to Japan and disappeared. Her family is still left with so many questions about why she did what she did, and how she did it while keeping it a secret from everyone she knew. To this day, Skye's father still has Skye's 2005 Chevy Aveo. He's keeping it running so that Skye will have a car to drive if she ever decides to come home. Megan hopes to return to Japan one day with a private investigator and translator to help find her sister. She's considered starting a GoFundMe to help fund this kind of search effort. If you have information that could help in the investigation of Skye Budnick's disappearance in the U.S., you can contact the U.S. National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, NamUs, which is the official federal database for missing persons cases. You can submit tips or information via their online form, or you can call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5622. Now, if you're in Japan, you can contact the U.S. consulate in Sapporo, Japan. If the information is related to her location or activities in Japan, contact the consulate directly. That's it for this week. Don't forget to follow us on social media at the Murder Diaries Pod. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We now have full episodes up on YouTube of our Tragic Hollywood and DocuFiles segments. And as always, our weekly schedule is Mondays, Tragic Hollywood, Tuesdays, DocuFiles, and Thursdays, a true crime case that needs your attention.
Until then,
stay safe.
Bye. Call me basic, but I'm an autumn girl through and through. And as this summer winds down, it's got me thinking about all these little things that make the home feel a little more comfortable and welcoming and cozy. That's exactly what Quince does so well. They make it so easy to upgrade the spaces that you use every day with quality home essentials made from premium materials without paying any of those luxury prices. Quince has those pieces that quietly elevate your home, from plush Turkish cotton bath towels and breathable cotton and linen bedding. Everything from Quince is made with premium materials and thoughtful craftsmanship. That's because Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. That way they can offer exceptional quality at prices that are 50 to 80% less than similar luxury brands. I've been sleeping on European linen sheets from Quince's home goods line for a year now, and let me tell you, they are cozy, they are breathable. I have no notes. They also just sent me their cotton fisherman's throw in the color fig. It is so pretty and also very cozy, most importantly. Elevate your everyday at home. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/diaries. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/diaries.
Hello. Look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
The Devil Wears Prada 2 is now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
We are digital, we are downloadable, we are streamable.
The fashion event of the year is certified fresh.
Pull yourself together, we have work to do.
Critics say it's smart and witty and the perfect sequel.
That's all.
Get runway ready for The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Disney Plus and Hulu. Rated PG-13.
Sleep Number's new collections are designed to adapt to the changing nature of your life and your sleep needs. Whether it's the personalized comfort of the Comfort Mode mattress, the targeted pressure relief of the Comfort Next mattress, or the Climate Collection that actively cools or warms to help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
And now, all beds are on sale during our biggest sale of the year. Save 25% on the new Comfort Next Luxe, plus free delivery on any mattress. Ends Monday, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Meet the Red Bull Dragonberry Energizer. It's one of the many new drinks out now. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? Try them all, only at McDonald's.
Are you fascinated by true crime stories? Then join me on the Casual Criminalist podcast, where we dive deep into some of the most intriguing criminal cases of our time. From the Oakland County child killer to the bizarre case of Paul Warner Powell, the man who sent himself to the electric chair. We're going to take you on a journey through the criminal mind and explore the toughest cases. Twice each week, we bring you a new story, such as the Lululemon murder and John Lennon Orr, the firefighter turned arsonist and murderer. If you're ready for a journey into the world of true crime, then subscribe now to the Casual Criminalist.